So I mean, obviously there are negatives to it, but I think there's.
But hang on, with how delicately you want the FF7 remake treated, it just seems like that's a fucking cop-out to go, oh, well, if they don't like something in the process, they could just change it between part 1 and part 2. Like, you really would be okay with that?
I'm already not okay with it. In fact, the reason that I want it to be episodic is different from being able to change it. I think it needs to be episodic because what they're trying to fit into a single game with all the hardware that, with the... all the production that's going into something that's on this level of scale, you can't fit that into a single game and have it come out in any kind of time frame that anyone would consider successful. But I think that the idea that if there's things that they could potentially change that people aren't, into, it's a possibility. But you're right, there are pros and cons of doing it the way that they're doing it.
And again, if Square Enix holds up the Final Fantasy VII Remake as, like, the example for why episodic content works, I think that's skewed data. Because there's no way that the Final Fantasy VII Remake doesn't do well. It doesn't sell well.
100% true, but you don't think, like, so they released the Final Fantasy VII thing, right? And okay, it blows it out of the water. So they think, oh yeah, this is great. People love this episode shit, right? And then they come out with like a new IP that's episodic, and it fucking crashes and burns. You don't think they'd go, oh, okay, maybe we need to reevaluate? You think they'd still keep trying to go because, oh, well, FF7 did well?
It depends on whatever. It depends on the conclusion that they want to reach. If it sells well and it makes them a much higher profit margin, then yeah, they're gonna fucking forge ahead with that business model. Success or failure be damned. The fucking margin is going to be huge. Are you kidding me?
And you don't think that anybody else, involved with the design would be able to reach the same conclusion that you're reaching right now, that maybe it only did that well because it's FF7?
No. Well, do you expect me to fucking say yes to that?
Well, how
this
come?
Is Square Enix 2016.
How are you the only person then that's able to come to that conclusion?
Oh, I'm not. How am I the only person to come to that conclusion?
Then why wouldn't someone within SC say?
Because they're making so much money. That's why.
All right. I need way more TP on Dragoon at this level than I have.
Hey, 30% of our audience didn't like the structure of this game, but you know what? For our trouble, we got a Scrooge McDuck-sized bank vault that we can swim in, okay? Like, what do you think is going to be the bigger influencing factor there? You think it's going to be what the fuck we say on a podcast? Do you think it's going to be what fucking people complain about on Kotaku? No.
Okay, well, see, that's different.
It's going to be the Scrooge McDuck, the Scrooge McDuck bank vaults full of money.
You can't really compare it to FF because even, when it gets bad, there are still people who are so invested in this, like us, that we're not willing to walk away, that we are willing to keep paying them.
Yeah, you shouldn't. You shouldn't. Like, that's my point, is that you shouldn't just blindly buy it. Especially not if you're pissed about it.
Almost.
You're doing far more damage by actually buying it and supporting the model than you are complaining about it on a podcast.
Right, no, I mean, myself, obviously, I'm fine with the game right now. I'm still having fun playing it. But the point that I'm trying to get is FF7 going to do great? Yes, it is. All right, awesome. So, they make another episodic original IP. It does terrible. They don't make profits on it.
But, like, what is this? Like, you're coming up with a bunch of hypotheticals.
Okay, yeah?
What's the point of the hypothetical if it doesn't do
Okay, well, if we're talking about the future, that's all we have to go on is hypotheticals.
So they come out with this theoretical bad episodic game.
Yeah?
And what happens? What happens?
No, that's why we're trying to have a discussion here, right? So we have to have a theoretical to have a discussion. They come out with a second episodic game. One of two things is going to happen. It does well. They continue with the episodic nature. Okay, there, that discussion's over. It does well, or I'm sorry, it doesn't do well. That's the other thing that can happen, right? It does bad or it does good. Just trying to have a conversation. So if it does bad, like they don't make profits on it, you don't think that they're then going to sit down and restructure the?
They're gonna do that. They're gonna do that because of one game. One game not doing well.
It happens twice. You don't think anyone's
twice?
Maybe we should think this over, guys? That's why I'm asking you. I'm asking you think that the success of FF7 is then going to set the company on a route that they are not going to abandon no matter what? That's the question that I'm asking you, like not theoretically, you personally. If FF7 does well, then we are looking at episodic games from Square Enix for the rest of forever, regardless of how any of their other games do.
Yeah, probably.
That's a cool gun. Well, it is. That's a cool gun.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you know, because
so.
Huh?
I said I don't think so.
Well, you're stupid. You're dumb. You've always been dumb and wrong about everything. Jesus.
Okay. So they're either going to do amazing with this new model business, or they're going to put themselves into bankruptcy because of it then.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. All right. Good discussion. Good discussion.
I don't know what fucking discussion are you trying to have? You're not actually. You're posing a whole bunch of like intangible questions that nobody except someone on the inside of Square Enix's financial team can fucking answer. What fucking discussion? What discussion are you trying to have?
What the fuck is a discussion to you then?
What fucking discussion are you trying to have? That's like I might as well just look at a fucking 8-ball. Get a divining rod out and try to fucking divine the future.
Okay.
You missed my point entirely.
No, I get your point.
No, you don't. You don't get my point.
Yes, you believe that because FF7 is going to be so monumentally successful that that's all we have to
No, I'm saying if that's the conclusion that Square Enix wants to reach, then using FF7 as its data model for success or failure is fundamentally flawed.
I agree with that.
Then what are you arguing, you fucking retard? What are you arguing? What are you trying to argue with me for?
Insult here a little bit.
What are you trying to argue with me for?
Just because this data is skewed and they make a decision on it doesn't mean that somewhere in the future they could come to a different, that they could change their business.
Some hypothetical different decision. What the fuck are you actually talking about? I'm talking about business decisions that they've actually made. The fucking Hitman game has the goalposts on that game have been moved so many fucking times that they're having to go back and readjust the pre-order structure. Okay? So if they're doing that to already established games that they're putting out now, if the Hitman game does well, if the Final Fantasy VII remake does well, you don't think that they're going to carve up their content from now till the end of time?
Till the end of time? No.
Yes.
Unless it continues to work for them.
Till the end of fucking time. Because once someone finds a successful business model, they don't go back to the old business model. Who's doing DLC really good right now? Who's doing DLC? Who's doing DLC really well?
I don't know.
No one. Because it's a fucked business model, and the rest of the business jumped on that train as soon as it became profitable. You don't think that other people are going to take Square Enix's cues and start hacking up their games too?
Yeah, probably.
And you don't think that that's a bad thing?
Yeah, I think that it could be a bad thing for some games.
It could be a bad thing
for some people, and I think that it'll fuck other people over. And if it doesn't work for other people, they'll probably years down the line find a different and new business model strategy.
So for 10 years you're gonna get nickeled and dimed by these motherfuckers. Who wants to fucking do that? Not only that, but then there's also the wait for part 2. There's also the wait for chapter 2. I mean, I don't know. I don't know about you, but I'd rather sit down and play a Final Fantasy VII remake from front to back. The whole fucking thing. And not have to wait a year or 2 years. 6 months. I don't give a shit. I don't want to have to wait that long for the next part of my game that I'm invested in.
Because it's not a full game. Don't we already do that with sequels?
Yeah, except you're already getting a full game. A sequel, a sequel's a different animal, man. Yeah, that's a continuing narrative, but you know what? You would consider the game self-contained.
Without having played the episodic game, like at what point is it considered just an episode or a full game? Does it have to do with the actual length of the narrative completely and totally?
Not the length of the narrative, the length of gameplay, man.
Okay, alright, so episode 1 comes out. You get 200 hours of gameplay out of it. Is that a game to you or is that an episode, despite what it's called?
Are you really? You're going to be satisfied if part 1 of the Final Fantasy VII remake comes out and you have to invest 200 hours in it?
I don't know.
I
have no idea. It depends on price point. Like you said, there's way too many things that go into it to know what we know right now if it's going to satisfy you.
Wait a minute. Hang on. Do you realize what you just said? You said 200 hours in part 1. If they're going to break it up into 4 parts, you really want to spend fucking upwards of 800 hours playing something like this? Dude, no. You get burnt out really fucking quickly.
So for you to then be like, okay, you know, this might work. How much per game? Like price point to hours played?
I mean, to me, a full game, a full RPG, if I'm spending $60 on it, I'm going to want to at least get 30 to 40 hours out of it. I think that's fair. For a modern RPG, sure.
Okay. So let's say they're charging $30 an episode. Half of that?
Okay.
That's okay with you, is what I'm saying.
15 hours, around there. If they're charging $30. No, it's still not okay because it's not a fucking complete product. This is what bothered me about fucking Metal Gear Solid 5. That wasn't a complete game.
Only because you knew about the stuff that was cut out, though, right?
No, not only. It's very clear that that's an incomplete game as soon as you get to the end of it. It's very, very clear that that's incomplete. That there was intention to keep it going beyond where it stopped.
Which, as a franchise, they do intend to do, don't they?
That's no.
No. Well, no. I can't really, you know.
That's completely indefensible. I mean, you're talking about in name only. Mm-hmm. It's when the creator is gone and the entire team is gone to an entirely separate company and they leave under those kinds of conditions. There's anyone who goes back for MGS6 if it becomes a thing. I don't know what to tell you.
Nintendo.
You're an asshole.
Nintendo does DLC well.
But it's Nintendo does DLC well?
Yeah, the Smash DLC was perfect. I have no complaints about that.
That's one game. What other DLC?
Well,
what other
you asked.
What other DLC? What other DLC does Nintendo do? Can you name any other DLC?
Who cares?
He also asked like 10 minutes ago.
Well, I didn't want to interrupt the flow of the conversation. Oh, Mario Kart 8 deal.
Nobody cares about Nintendo.
Yeah, Xanther, Konami is saying that they have an intention to make MGS6 and actually making an MGS6 are two totally different things.
Mm-hmm. Sadly,
there you go. There you go. Dark Souls did DLC very good. I would also say that CD Projekt Red in general does DLC very well. I'm not saying that DLC isn't done well, but I'm saying a majority of it. If you look at what Ubisoft, what fucking EA, what Activision, what all three of these gigantic mammoth companies do, even Square Enix to a certain extent, is they just nickel and dime the shit out of DLC. Another game that recently came out from Square Enix, Just Cause 3. Just Cause 1 and 2 were amazing games. And then Just Cause 3 started development, and Square Enix decided that they wanted to throw a whole bunch of different ideas at the Just Cause team. And they wanted to be an online persistent game with multiplayer all the time. And all of that shit ended up being abandoned. But that's why you have the shitty online checks, why the loading screen takes forever on consoles. They didn't make that game with consoles in mind. See, the thing is that the model that the gaming industry was looking towards as the future was like the always online multiplayer persistent models. And what do you get out of stuff like that? You actually get games like Star Wars Battlefront, okay, where you have no single player campaign and it's an online multiplayer game only. You know, like, that's the kind of shit, like, that shit does not sit well with me, because when I spend $60 on a game, I want a fucking full game, not 3/4 of the game like I got with Metal Gear Solid 5, not a quarter of the game like Star Wars Battlefront decided to put out. You know what I mean? And I'm really getting sick of getting nickel and dimed to death between either series passes for DLC or for the DLC itself.
I'll agree with all of that.
I'm not getting tired of it yet. I wish for more
like you
nickel
said,
and
though, the stuff that you get your DLC from, like Smash, they actually do it well. But take Borderlands, for example. You decide to go grab a Borderlands game. If you want all the DLC, you're looking at paying probably twice as much as you actually paid for the game for the DLC.
And for what? For what?
Unless you're lucky enough to find it on sale on Steam.
And for what? What's the cost that video game companies are trying to cover at that point? They're not having to reprint discs. They're not having to come out with a Game of the Year edition. It's literally like 400 megabytes sitting on their server that gets served out to everyone who buys it. And it's just $20 that they get to rake in. Now, sure, there's cost for development, but that only goes so far, man. Like, honestly, for what we pay in DLC as customers, we should be getting way more.
Especially considering that the DLC never goes down in price. If you want to go, like right now, you can probably get on PSN or whatever the Xbox thing is, Xbox Live, and download the complete Mass Effect trilogy for less than a full brand new game, right? If you want to get Bringing Down the Sky DLC for Mass Effect 1, it's still like $20-$30 for one mission.
And see,
ridiculous.
that's the kind of attitude that I like. You look at it, like I said, you look at the way that DLC and DLC as a business has kind of sort of permeated the industry. And if this makes Square Enix a shitload of money, which it's poised to, then maybe it's not even Square Enix we need to be concerned about, because maybe you're right, Kahlo. Maybe Square Enix can internally identify that, like, look, This success can just be attributed to Final Fantasy VII. We don't want to necessarily shift to a development model like this. Okay, but the
industry as a whole.
Yes, the waves that would put out into the industry.
I agree with that 100%. Because when I'm thinking right now of all the episodic games that I know of or that I've played, they've done well. But you are absolutely right. Looking at what DLC's done to the industry, an industry as a whole, this isn't good for.
No, I don't think it is.
You're right. No, I'm with you there. I'm with you there. And the only thing that we can hope at that point is the people who do it badly fucking feel it.
I don't know, man. I think the best hope that we can have is that the Final Fantasy VII remake will be absolute dog shit. And I'm talking like single digits on Metacritic. Like, I think that's the best hope to get rid of that model that we have, is for that to come out and just tank. Yes.
I'd be okay with it, because like I said, then I get to say I told you so to everyone, so...
I have no actual dog in the fight. Like, I don't care what... I played Final Fantasy VII. I already did it. It's done. Will I go play the remake? Maybe. I don't know. Probably, because it's, like, kind of my job right now, and it would be nice to know, like, what I'm talking about, I guess.
Every once in a while know what you're talking about.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah, exactly. But, am I super excited for it? Am I hyped for it? Fuck no. I'm really nervous.
Because I'm not hyped for it either.
No, I'm really nervous about it. And is the truth.
From an industry perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.